We wrapped up groups A and B. There are 12 more players that will be fighting to the death over the course of the next few hours.
That's right. As we go into group C and D, looking forward to this. As I said before the break, this is where the best players are, in my opinion. Outside of Solar and Parting, obviously two great players, these two groups are stacked as.
Yeah, you're totally right. These groups consist of none of the North American players, which I do think are a lot weaker, significantly.
Puck.
Yeah, you're totally right. I totally screwed that up. But he's one of the best Americans, along with State.
Yeah.
And
I
Hook.
agree.
Yeah, sorry. I just screwed everything up.
Trying to diss my boy.
But apart
Yes.
from Puck,
My boy.
I mean, you can still go on your train of thought apart from Puck.
I mean, everybody's so close. Like, these are the groups where Koreans have a legit chance of losing. And when I say legit, I still think they're the favorites, but it's possible. It's possible. Very possible.
Of course. It's definitely... I think this phase of the tournament is where it's going to be like, this is where those big upsets would happen. I completely agree with you. Because this is also where we have that chance to, even just the way that the groups shape up, even if the Koreans make it out of these groups, which they should, but if the upset happens to some extent and we get like a first place from Like Bunny or something like that, you know, it shakes up a lot of what the bracket as well will look like for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because... you know, it goes without saying that the best chance for any of these guys to make it into the top four is for the Koreans to be put in some position where they have to eliminate each other early on.
You said that to me, I think, before the tournament even started, that the top six, if you get first place in your group, is huge for your success, hopefully, from the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, you have to win so... how to say this? Like, there
Fewer
are so
games.
There's so fewer games that you can really make a deep run just by not losing. I mean, it makes sense. But once you actually drop down to the lower bracket, the road is so much harder.
That's pretty similar to... it reminds me because we had like there was sort of like a formatish like that during DreamHack Winter last year where the players that were alive in the upper bracket only had to win like 3 matches, I think it was, to make it to the grand final. And if you lost, then you had to win like 5 or 6 or something like that. So this is obviously one of those scenarios where you don't want to have to spend all day grinding in the lower bracket tomorrow.
Would you be willing to say and put your word online that 1 or 2 of the Korean players will be in the lower bracket? Because I would. I don't think we're going to have double first place in Group C and D.
Really?
Yeah.
Which Korean do you think it would be faltering of Bomber and TY?
Bomber.
Really?
Let me hold on. I say Bomb. No, actually, I'm going to change that. I think Bomber is the weaker of the two. Bomber and TY.
I agree.
But TY is in a harder group.
Yeah.
So I would say TY. I go back. I say TY.
Everybody likes to underestimate Bomber, which is why I would say TY is the safer one, because it's usually when you count Bomber out that he just kind of wrecks face. Like, it happened in Shoutcraft as well. People were like, oh, okay, man, maybe. But he actually still made that top 3 finish there as well. These groups are pretty good, though. Group C, Group D.
Look how good Group D is. It's, for me, when I was coming over to this tournament, I looked at all the groups, and D was, in my opinion, just the best.
You were very
By
excited
far
for the D, Sean.
I love the D. I love Group D.
Yeah, it's
got so many of the
you embrace that.
top of the top foreigners from.
So would you say
eras.
you also prefer D?
I mean, one thing that could be better about D, and I'm sure Snoot will agree, if we kicked Tealo out and put Snoot in.
Yeah, I think that's acceptable.
Then you'd have a better D.
I think.
Yeah.
I think Majestic has a very
technically
tough
harder
road
of a D.
ahead of him.
Okay, so Majestic, in your opinion, would be the worst part of the D.
Yes, the Majestic part.
All right. Good to know. Glad we managed to get that sorted out. It's been, of course, a continued part of this, as ROCCAT is the sponsor for this tournament, of course, bringing this awesome $50,000 prize pool as we get closer to wrapping up day 1. Keep in mind, of course, you can still participate in the giveaways that apparently are happening totally randomly, but you can enter yourself for that by tweeting with the hashtag #SetTheRules. You can win a sweet mouse like this, as well as the hashtag DHW15. Let us know. I mean, tweet who you think's going to win, you know?
What is this
interested.
mouse? Come here.
It is an e-gaming mouse, from what I've been told.
ROCCAT Cova.
Is this the talking mouse?
What? There's a talking mouse?
Yeah, we had it at Take TV's place.
Okay, this
There's
is
also ROCCAT.
Does it literally speak
It doesn't say anything about talking.
It'd be like 3,200 DPI.
This is 7,000 DPI.
Freaking own that other talking mouse.
It's got 22 button functions, easy shift. You know, you can combine your hotkeys to being a more efficient Zerg player.
Yeah.
It's
You
got.
could bind F2 and A to the same one, but that's technically against the rules, so.
It also has overdrive mode. Put your mouse into overdrive to secure victories.
Split against those disruptors.
That's the high-level strategy thinking we need from you, Snoot. But we are actually going to get to the first series of the day. Apparently, it's about to start, so analysis will have to wait. We have Bomber versus Zanster. Snoot to Muslim, take it away.
Thank you very much, Nathanius. Now, this is a matchup that, wow, camera was right on you there, zoomed right in. But here we have Bomber against Zanster. Now, Bomber, of the 4 Koreans that were invited, I'd say he's the one that's most predictable, thus probably being the easiest of the 4. Still incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Like, he's a macro machine once he gets going.
Yeah.
But Zanster's been looking pretty darn strong, especially in the latter parts of HOTS. Came top 4 at WCS, and even qualifying to this tournament. He qualified in the second qualifier of the Northern group, but still a pretty darn strong Zerg.
Yeah. Zanster has had a very steady improvement rate, and towards the end of Heart of the Swarm, I feel like he was one of the top Zergs in Europe.
I agree.
I think that form is definitely going to carry over here, and I think also Zanster is a very smart player when it comes to adapting and changing up his play, to the opponent that he plays. Bomber likes to not scout a whole lot. Maybe Zanster can take advantage of this. There's a lot of different stuff that can happen.
Yeah, once you figure out what Bomber's probably doing, and he often relies on like a 2-2 timing, and then just never stops pushing you. Maybe Zanster definitely has the mechanics to play Zerg to a very high level. Anyhow, spawning in the top left as the Red Terran, it is Bomber. Looking pretty chill over there. Now, these win rates, I don't believe he's 20% in any matchup since he's so good, but...
Yeah, not necessarily the largest sample size there. But here in the bottom of Brian Terraces, it's Zanster. Playing for Team Property, rocking this property swag.
Now, immediately there, before the camera zoomed on his beautiful face, what do you think about this build order he's doing? He's going for a pool and a gas.
And this is going to work out quite well, I believe, because Bomber is going for the 2-Rex Reapers. So this is much more of the Korean meta that I had the pleasure of experiencing during my stay in China. Bomber is going to go for a lot of Reapers, but I'm very curious to see how Zanster is actually going to use this build to his advantage, because this is clearly some sort of anti-cheese build, I believe. You don't just go pool first like this without expecting some sort of... I think Zanster really is preparing for a proxy Reaper of some sort. And who knows, maybe against 2-Rex Reaper, maybe it's a good thing, or maybe it's not. We'll have to see.
We will have to see. So you think Zanster's pretty well prepared for Bomber? Oh! Whoa!
Oh, that's so cool.
If he goes for that, which it looks like he is going to, although maybe seeing that Overlord, I don't think that's going to divert Bomber at all.
Oh, but the sneak around from Zanster, this is amazing. He's most likely going to get the cancel on the gold base.
This is a really good start for Zanster.
Do keep in mind, though, 2 Reapers on the way at a time. Like, it really depends on where Bomber's Reapers are at the different times.
He'll at least delay it, though. And I mean...
Now he sees it. He sees that the expansion is late. Like, he should figure it out by now.
Yeah.
Go back.
The second Reaper's still moving forward, so...
SCV going down.
Man.
This is a great start for Zanster here.
Like, even if he doesn't get the kill...
Oh, they might the castle. Oh, grenades, though. Look at those LOTV buffed Reapers. Hype.
I mean, he's not going to get the cancel,
Nerf.
but he delayed that by a good 15, 20 seconds or so, which is substantial in this matchup. And now he knows that his opponent's expoed on the low ground at the gold.
And what does he do? Immediately puts down the Roach Warren. And one of the consequences when you go for this gold base is that Bomber's SCV transfer is going to be late. Sure, Zanster loses an Overlord, but I still think that the build that he's going for is going to be highly effective here.
Yes, I mean, how do you really defend against like Roach Ling all-ins, especially if you like add Ravagers to the mix? And he has a lot of gas to make Ravagers here. That is a nice bunker position though, so Bomber's kind of anticipating this.
So do you think Bomber is going to be in major trouble if he just floats away?
Complete.
It depends. I mean, if Bomber transfers a bunch of SCVs to his base, but now he knows, like, now it's under so much pressure and these Reapers, they can jump up. I'm not sure if this bunker... Yeah. Nice placement there by Bomber. Saves the bunker, it's safe from these slings, but still, Roaches are coming.
I almost feel this is super next level smart by Bomber. Behind this, he's going for a third CC. We look at the worker count.
That's such a Bomber thing to do, you know, just going for the triple command.
Yeah, and look,
even if the game is completely messed up, even if there's a 2-base Zerg coming towards you, still just triple command. It's cool.
Look how defensive he's being. He's getting a tank with this. He's got a better worker count now.
Oh yeah, he better be defensive or else he's gonna die to Ravagers, man. And here's the worker transfer that I talked about. Like, all these SCVs might get caught off guard.
I mean, if he didn't do the worker transfer, I'd really like his position.
Yeah, me too, absolutely.
And I mean, that tank's in a beautiful location. There isn't an overlord close, I don't think. Does see the tank on the high ground now.
Oh, and that's so true. You mentioned the Overlord, like Zanster's, he doesn't have any high ground vision because he lost that Overlord early on.
Yeah, and I mean...
Oh, the CC though, it's gonna fall?
It got incredibly low, but it's gonna get away. Oh, just start burning.
Nah, Bomber's going to save this third CC from the looks of things. Oh, is he gonna try to land it though? I don't agree with that decision. Bomber is so eager to actually, this is kind of awkward.
This is very awkward. The scouting CC that's on fire already.
Orbital command.
And that's getting incredibly low now. Like, we're joking about it, but that definitely has the potential to die. I think just kind of securing yourself.
Bomber is so eager to land this. I don't think this is a very good decision, but we'll have to see.
We do see that he can't die now to this attack, and he even kind of has a better army than what Zanster has now, so equal-ish worker counts. He's got his gold base ready to land. I actually like this a lot for Bomber now. I think he's in a really, really good position.
Yeah, Zanster definitely, he doesn't have the typical Zerg economy that you would expect at like a 540 mark. The gold base is only just started, his tech is only like halfway, it's on lair, lots of gas sunk into those roaches and ravagers.
I don't even think what Zanster did was necessarily bad, but he looks in pretty awful shape right now. Do you think he just overcommitted way too much?
Maybe a few too many roaches, and definitely losing that one Overlord limited his options a lot. Because there was no starport for Bomber. Just a tiny bit of harass here.
I hope nobody saw that. I just naded myself.
But you know, a siege tank, of course it's scary, but if you have a few Ravagers, you can actually 3-shot at siege tank. Like, as long as you have the high ground vision from an Overlord, you can snipe a tank just fine. Like, you can outrange it, you can shoot other targets, force the tank to reposition. There's a lot of things you can do, but once that Overlord was lost, Bomber just was in a phenomenal position. And
given that there was no units on the low ground, you can run a single Ling ahead just to take the initial tank shot and then corrosive violate for no damage lost, and
yeah, absolutely. Or
consistently deny the gold.
Or even send a roach in, and then you can let it tank, and then you can morph it into a Ravager, and it heals. It's like amazing.
Next level. Don't even need to lose the 25 minerals.
I know, right?
Now, Zanster's worker count's been insanely low for such a long time now, and Bomber just kind of piled ahead. So, do you think Zanster was just kind of scared of an attack and just kept on building roaches? I really feel that Zanster's kind of...
These are quite a few extra roaches for no apparent reason.
Yeah, like, as soon as you know that a Terran's building tanks, you can usually predict that, hey, he's probably not going to be playing aggressive with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's when you see a Terran making Widow Mines that, okay, he's probably going to be playing aggressive.
Zanster trying to find some holes here in the defense of Bomber, but not finding any success so far, and Bomber's medivacs are on the way, so the next question is Bomber going to start dropping, or is he just going to go for that typical Bomber style, just parade pushing down the middle of the map?
I cannot remember the last time that I saw Bomber playing fancy with drops.
Yeah, I know, right?
I just know that, in fact, as soon as I say it, it makes me look dumb. Like, here he's going with a double drop. But I think this is all gearing up to the fact that he wants to make a huge army and just push Zanster.
This will be the only drop you'll see from Bomber this entire game, this entire series.
Like, in the existence of Bomber's career, his first drop ever. I mean...
Cheeky. Tries to get the shot on the medivacs, but misses. So we'll see what Bomber does with this. Very annoying map to deal with drops on when you only have a few roaches and ravagers. Overseer gonna get sniped, but Zanster should defend this without taking major damage. But he is confined to his own base.
Bomber only dropped a few of his Marines there, so could have potentially dealt a little bit more damage a little bit faster, or maybe dealt with the roaches and ravagers faster. But honestly, at this moment in time, there isn't a clock on him. Like, he's finished his 1-1 upgrades now, and look at Zanster. He's only just started his +1 armor here. Yeah, he's getting the +1 range already, but this is really, really good for Bomber. And Bomber, he stopped SCV production and has done for quite a while now. Now we're going to start seeing Bomber do what Bomber does best. In fact, taking a
He wanted to take a fourth.
He did want to take a 4.
But Zanster denying that with a cute little run by. I assume Bomber is going to start the fourth command relatively shortly.
I was about to say, this is rather ballsy moving so far in creep, and I thought he was going to start backing off there, which I would have thought to be the right move. But here, Bomber's just kind of all over Zanster
attacking in all the fire raining from above. But now the bombs are in cooldown, so we'll see if Bomber can accomplish something. But these Ravages, wow, they just deal so much damage, and Bomber has to lift up and go into the main.
And he does that incredibly quickly. 3 dropships. They are met by a few Roaches, but Roaches do not do well against much better upgraded Bio, throwing lots of corrosive bile on Bomber, but Bomber just runs ahead and picks off a couple of Ravages. So
yeah,
really nice
good
play.
Very good control from Bomber so far. Only losing a little bit. The first fight was a tiny bit questionable, like he stayed a tiny bit too long, but now these fights seem very, very good for Bomber.
Yeah, I mean, his work account's been at 56 for quite a while now. He got to a very decent barracks count. I think he's somewhere up to around 8, producing the Hellbats that he loves.
And here we go. This is Bomber. This is Bomber. Look at the minimap. The units just walking across from the main base of Bomber, laying siege to this gold base of Zanster.
Oh, that corrosive bile landed perfectly on all those Roaches there. Lots of friendly fire damage being dealt. And Bomber, he's just pushing for the win right here, dodging all those corrosive biles too, even without stim on his units.
I was about to say there's almost no medivacs, but there's 6 of them. That should be enough to deal with this army. But look at the power of the Roaches and Ravagers. Bomber is forced into a retreat, and Zanster is holding.
Zanster's holding pretty darn decently, and Zanster, even though his work account isn't high, it hasn't been dropping. And with gold bases, you don't need...
Oh, the siege tank falls as well to the Queen.
Oh, Bomber just marching on ahead. But Zanster, he's always kind of prepared for this, so not taking as much damage as he should, but still, this is a lot of Bomber here.
A lot of shots raining down from above, actually hitting Bomber's army, not splitting away in time. Still though, in the main, doing some work here with this bio, but the supplies, they're still fairly even, and Zanster's still in the lead.
Right now, Zanster's caught up in upgrades, so this is the time that, in fact, Bomber has hit +2 weapons, I do believe, so dealing quite a lot of damage is Bomber, but Zanster, he's still slowly creeping ahead in supply, and yes, it is in Roaches.
Oh, and what happened to Bomber's gold base? There's some weird floating going on, and there's no mining.
What is going on?
Something happened with Bomber's bases, and I don't see any mining from the gold.
Did he mine out the gold? Is that what happened? That's
not possible. There's still... Oh, wow. There's so few patches there.
Bomber's style is so crazy.
Like, I know, right? This is starting to become a very weird game very fast, and Zanster has a... Is it a Zergling or Overlord at the gold base of Bomber, the 4th one? So that base has not been taken yet. A single Zergling blocking it, actually.
Oh, I'm actually starting to like this a lot for Zanster.
Yeah, he's taking very cost-effective fights. He's actually keeping the medevac count down. And the Bomber is trying to find holes in Zanster's defense all the time, but Zanster, sure, he's losing a few units here and there, but in the grand scheme of things, he is mining from gold bases, and Bomber is not.
And that's definitely a good sign for the Zerg.
That's a very good sign for the Zerg.
Now Zanster, from looking very even in supply, he's now 50 supply ahead of Bomber, and these medevac drops, while they were dealing damage, I felt they just slowed down the mining, which means his bases can live for longer. And look, drops are being denied.
Come into play.
Oh my god, wow. This is getting really bad for Bomber now.
Bomber,
and this is potentially another medevac going down. I wouldn't be surprised.
Truly overextending here into Zanster's defense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no creep. Zanster has yet to try to take a 5th base. Theoretically, there's no real need for Bomber to press so hard into Zanster's defenses.
Is that his main orbital CC? I believe it is.
It absolutely is. So
Bomber's just floating bases here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, it's like salvaging every single mineral patch on the map, just moving around. But in the end, this map only has that many bases, and right now, Zanster is the player taking the better fights, I believe.
And Bomber, once he hit 2-2, it took him a long time to hit his 3-3. I really believe that he believed that he was going to win before he even needed the 3-3. Uh-oh, is this going to happen?
Walk into this army.
Oh, man. Oh, that is one medevac down immediately, and that makes Zanster's life a hell of a lot easier. That CC does start floating away, but that's a gold base denied, and Zanster takes a considerable positional advantage here.
And even though the work account is equal, which should be a good thing for the Terran.
Oh my, is that going to... Okay, it does just survive there.
Yeah. Very good for Bomber. And still, this one drop is on the way to Zanster's base. But look at this main engagement here. so many Ravager shots going down, and Bomber is forced to micro. Can he do it against this Roach Ravager force? I'm not sure, but this is a beautiful concave as well from Bomber.
Great micro by Bomber. He's avoiding all these corrosive biles. One thing that is working in his favor a lot here.
Wow, so confident, just stimming, going forward, and Zanster is taking massive hit to his army. That's a lot of gas units just going down the drain.
Zanster never finished +2 armor.
Oh, and this fight was even... Bomber didn't necessarily... I mean, it was kind of Zanster bringing the fight to Bomber, but this was before Bomber's upgrades completed. So he's going to have a massive window right now where he can push into Zanster again. The question is Zanster going to hold this time around?
16 Marines at a time. That is Bomber macro at its finest.
This
I
is
haven't
the
seen...
Bomber that we know and love.
Yes, he just, once he starts, he never stops. But Zanster's army is actually pretty darn strong, and with corrosive biles, all it takes is a few of them to land.
There's only 4 shots, but there's so many DPS units in this army, and Zanster is adding on additional roaches just to get a little bit more tanking. And if I was in Bomber's shoes right now, I would still be very, very careful engaging into this. There was so many Hydralisks in this mix, and if you don't feel like there's an overwhelming count for yourself, then it's better not to take the fight. Bomber just backs off and waits for another day to fight.
This was really nice harass from Zanster, by the way, just with a couple of units, but denying mining entirely for quite some time there on that base. One thing that Zanster is doing...
So many Marines, like not that many Marauders even.
No, and Roach Hydra actually isn't too bad, especially with the Corrosive Bile against the bio, but I think he needs to use this Corrosive Bile differently. He's spamming it all, and then all Bomber needs to do is dodge that one wave, and then he just runs in there aggressively. I think he needs to use it more sparingly.
Yeah,
to kind of stop,
I agree.
kind of stop himself from taking so much damage, not necessarily trying to deal so much damage with it.
In situations like this, though, it's very technical trying to hit this bio because there's so much of it. And yeah, I agree with you though. Now Bomber can move in, going for a sandwich here with a lot of bio coming in from the right-hand side, really catching Zanster off guard. And meanwhile, Zanster is going for a counter-attack with most of his army, but that means there's not that much army at home, and he has these glass cannon units, the Ravagers, the Hydralisks, and Bomber is just pushing forward with the main army, trying to break into Zanster here.
If Zanster can somehow peel this apart, but no, there's so much Bomber absolutely everywhere, and he's just marching in, mowing down Zanster here, but it's still an incredibly close game. Their supplies very, very close, but here, Zanster's just stopping mining absolutely everywhere. Yeah. All he needs to do is send a few roaches south, and he stops the mining entirely of Bomber.
That's the power of Terran, though. You can lift up, and these SCVs manage to get away safely, and it's very easy for Bomber to just pick up this army and go back home if he so would like, and he still has the protection of the ramps leading into his main. If there's a few units there he can, you know, with the depots, with the buildings, he can hold these roaches off, at least for a while. And,
certainly can. And what's Zanster buying time for here? His army, if he can kind of close in on that top army and segregate it, that'd be great, but these Corrosive Biles, they're not doing much, and Bomber's just microing heavily.
Look at this, Bomber just started stepping to victory with the playstyle that he's used for so many years. Just classic Bomber here. GG well played, called by Zanster. Wow, Bomber proving to all of us that this style, the fundamental skills he has, macro, still works in Legacy of the Void.
Certainly does, and he makes it look easy too. Zanster did a lot of right moves.
It's like Bomber is like cooking this thing, and it's like 85% Marines, throwing some Marauders in the mix, just stir it well together with some Bomber expertise, and then you got a victory.
It's what he does, man. As soon as he gets...
It's so sick to watch as well. Like, all of a sudden, you see on the minimap, this stream of red just moving down, and then all of a sudden, 100 Marines. Like, where do they come from?
It's really quite clinical play by him. Like, if you count up the workers per base too, so you have 22 for a perfectly mining single base, right?
Yeah.
The 6 guys on gas, the 16 guys on workers. He had 56 workers, which meant the 22 on his main, the 22 on his natural, and the 12 extra for the gold base. So all perfectly attuned.
It's so good, so good.
But just pummeling his opponent.
I mean, why would you make an extra SCV if you can make an extra Marine?
Bomber style, man. Like, it's exactly what he does. And
I believe that this map seemed to be Bomber's choice also, so the next map is actually going to be Zanster's choice, which is a larger map. It's going to be on Dusk Towers.
That's a good map, though.
Isn't it kind of surprising to you that the gold base map that's so feared by all the Terran players here, Bomber actually chose to play on this map with the golds? I mean, he had the plan going into it, of course, but it just shows Bomber's level of confidence.
And yeah, if there's anything that Bomber chooses to do and excels at. It's just the macro play,
Yeah,
where he chooses to barrel down his opponent. And we even saw that he took the gold as his natural. And when it's so early on in Legacy of the Void 2, people don't know how to appropriately deal with these things. Like we saw Zanster there.
Yeah, I tried to go for something aggressive, but wasn't quite sure how to pull it off. Lost the Overlord. That's an execution mistake there. And from there, just unable to punish the siege tank defense that Bomber had set up.
And Bomber anticipated it very well too by throwing up a third very early, and he knew that he could kind of just fall back. In fact, I felt he played a bit greedy by sticking around at that goal.
Absolutely, especially the floating the orbital back.
Yeah.
Like you didn't know if there were 2 Ravagers or 5 Ravagers. A little bit sketchy there. But anyway, we're going into the second map here. Dusk Towers, and spawning in the bottom, it's Bomber. The macro beast.
The face of a stone-cold killer. He's been around for a long-ass time, and he's always been extremely consistent. And spawning in the top of this map, as our Blue Zerg, hailing from Sweden, it is Zanster.
Once again, going for a little bit of a trickster opening. Pool first, I believe. Playing very, very safe against Bomber here. Maybe too safe, one could say. This is a map that's very difficult to cheese on as a Terran, don't you think?
As a Terran?
Yeah, like you have to run up the ramp, proxy Reaper. I don't know how strong that can be. I don't think it's particularly strong. In Bomber, he's just like, yeah, macro, let's go, CC first.
It's a map that's not worth cheesing on as a Terran, I feel. Purely because the fourth that you force Zerg to take, they either take this one, which you have a cliff right next to it, which is great, or they take the far away fourth, in which... And all the bases are pretty bad against Liberators, in all honesty. Like, the main's pretty bad. If you get a Liberator behind the natural as well, that's pretty bad. And even the third, I suppose, is quite bad against Liberators. I don't think there's any point in doing early game cheese against Zerg on this map.
No, I don't think so either. And if you're comfortable in the long games like Bomber is, there's no reason to actually try to cheese Zanster out here. So a very good build choice from Bomber, getting a nice economic lead here. Nothing too significant, of course. The game still is going to go on for quite some time. But yeah, Zanster with the early gas is going to go for speed. Maybe we'll see some sort of Ravager play. That's also possible. Like a speedless Ravager opening. Definitely also a possibility here.
Anticipating Reapers here is Zanster. We saw those Lings nicely positioned there.
And yet though, no circling speed. So this could very well be some sort of Roach opening or Ravager pressure type of opening.
And we haven't seen Nidus utilized either yet.
That is correct.
And this is a map where your main base is rather large, and even the natural getting in there.
There we see the lair. I think it's gonna happen.
Wow. Is it time?
Is it time? This is an insanely quick lair also. This is so early, incredibly
We don't know
early.
if it is Nidus yet, though. This could be a multitude of things.
It has to be a Nidus.
With no gases being added on just yet. Extra gases, at least.
Making another queen. I would be very surprised if this is anything but Nidus. Can you think of anything but Nidus for this type of early lair?
The fact that he just repositioned that Overlord, put it further away. I'm kind of surprised there isn't a Roach Warren going down yet, though.
I feel like it's a bit too soon. Like, this lair was so incredibly fast, and I'm not sure if Zanster has the economy to back this up. Like, could it be Spire by chance? Like the fastest Spire we've ever seen?
I mean, he's hitting lair tech just as he hits 200 gas.
Very excited for this one. Very excited for this one. What you gonna do, Zanster? You got 2 gases.
Oh.
There's the Roach Warren. And I have to be brutally honest here. As a Zerg player, I don't think this build is all too optimized.
I totally agree.
I think this could have a lot more punch. Maybe it would hit a little bit later. But let's wait with the judgment until the game is ended.
Let's wait, Jens. You are a great Zerg player, I know, but this is Anton Dahlstrom we're talking about here.
Yeah, but you know,
we came top 4 WCS, baby.
Yeah, with a build like this though, having these 6 Zerglings early and just the lair so fast, you really...
Wait, he's given away that he's not got Ling speed here.
Oh, Bomber sees everything with his Hellion Scout.
Oh my god.
But as we talked about earlier, you know, the Twitch chat things, scouting something doesn't mean that you defend it. You gotta do everything correctly from here also.
Right, guys, because Nidus Worms in this game, they start off invulnerable. So even if Bomber knows a Nidus is coming, that Nidus currently cannot be stopped if it does come.
And guess what type of build Bomber is going for? It's triple command again. It's not exactly what you want against the 2-base Nidus all in.
Uh-oh, Nidus. He's put it right next to the building bunker.
That surely shows the level of confidence.
Oh my lord. I'm
So,
actually...
the
Okay.
units- Oh,
Wait, bringing SCVs while Widow Mines
is
are
he
there,
going
though?
to make his own SCVs explode?
Oh my lord. I mean,
Well,
he's keeping it alive.
The Queens are coming out. The Nidus Swarm goes down. Roach is tanking a lot. The Overseer is there to help clear out the Widow Mines. And,
Is this working? I mean,
don't
another
think it
Nidus is on the way.
I don't think it is. The SCVs are doing a great job of repairing the bunker, and so far, this looks like a hold from Bomber against one of the
Perfect.
most feared strategies from Legacy of the Void Zerg play.
I have to question...
But here it's the reinforcement Nidus though. Does Bomber have enough to actually stop this? There's no more Queens to transfuse the Nidus, it goes down again, and Zanster has not really a whole lot more than these 4 Roaches and the Queen in the back, which is not doing anything right now. But damage is being dealt, a lot of SCVs are going down, and sure, Bomber has triple command, but...
I have to question, though, he had multiple Overlords around the bases here, and he chose to put his Nidus directly next to a half-made bunker.
And the production facilities. Sure,
Yeah.
it's wonderful if it works out for you, because you are right on top of the production, and it's a very how to say this? There's so many buildings, so it's very difficult for SCVs to get a surround on your units, and it's kind of clunky and clumsy how the situation plays out.
I almost feel what he was going for, though. If you get a Nidus up... I mean, he could have put it potentially behind the mineral line there, and it's kind of low surface area, which is good against SCVs too.
Yeah, but then again, if you go for the mineral line, then you will not be on top of the production. I think that's what Zanster probably was aiming for, just locking down the production.
You can then deny mineral mining anyhow as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously advantages and disadvantages. I don't think putting it next to a building bunker is the correct choice, because we saw there, once it started getting repaired, there was no way that thing was going to go down. But anyhow, the game sort of normalizes.
Sort of normalizes indeed. Still no circling speed, so this Hellion is going to get a good read on the third base timing. Also the fourth going down from Zanster. I like this a lot. The main is about to run out eventually, so this is going to ensure that Zanster will have a very good mineral income. Bomber also expanding to his third base, floating it over, securing it very, very nicely. And upgrades on the way for Zanster. It's just starting to look like a more normal game again.
Certainly is, and Zanster opting for the Roach. Well, he's going to go for Roach Ravager again. Like, how do you feel about that unit composition right now? Is that something that you opt for in this matchup also?
Sometimes, yeah, it's a very strong composition, but I'm not sure if it's what you want to do on a map like this, because it's so big, and defending against Medivacs is far more difficult, I feel, on a map like this compared to smaller maps such as Arena. And, it just takes a lot of effort if you want to actually move across the map and deal damage to terrain. Most of the time, you'll only be defending, dealing with drops like this. Queen gets picked off here, and as long as these drops are here, you can't really do much as Zerg. You just need to defend as well as possible. And wow, Bomber's sniping some Ravagers here, sniping the Queens as well, sniping some really high-value targets with this.
Yeah, some nice transfusions as well from Zanster, though. Even gets the Ravager there with his last hit. And all this, Bomber's economy is already exactly where he wants it. He's again going for... It looks like no gases on his third. He even was floating his factory, which is a sign of, hey, I don't really want to use that. I just want to make bio units. This is Bomber in a nutshell. Exactly. And the fact that he's ahead in upgrades too, I only see this ending one way, which is Bomber pushing as hard as he possibly can once he hits that 2-2.
But this is a map with a rush distance far greater than the previous map, and we saw how well the defender's advantage was working for Zanster in the last game. He didn't win the game, but there were a lot of Marines not doing anything, just walking across the map, and that effect is going to be very amplified here on a map as big as Dusk Towers. These Marines have to walk very far, and there's a reason why Bomber is putting his barracks so far in the front as well also, so he can reinforce his army quickly. But still, this is a large map, and as long as Zanster is hunkering down in this defensive position, this map is not going to favor Bomber.
Certainly not, but Bomber, he's making this look good right now, and if he can get a quick snipe in this hatch, which it looks like he will, he's in good shape. Yep. Though, the fact that he's only relying on barracks units, that's something that Zanster can work with here. Like, obviously they're very strong, but this composition, if you lose the fight with bio, you can get easily overwhelmed. There's going to be nothing at home.
Unless you're Bomber, a macro like Bomber.
Unless you're Bomber and it's just more and more bio constantly.
Yeah.
Oh, in fact, that wasn't Bomber finishing 2 there. He was only finishing his +1 armor, so not as far ahead in upgrades as I actually thought here.
Yeah, and I believe Zanster, oh wow, kill no
Ooh.
cancel. That's going to be pretty brutal in the long run. As you can see, the main mineral patches of Zanster are mined out, and he has a way higher drone count than he actually needs right now, 70 workers. But basically 2 bases worth of mineral patches to mine from. Zanster's economy is really going to hurt in a few minutes from now.
And he's also still just making roaches here, which...
Yeah, you know, it's kind of difficult to transition out of. Zanster hasn't really had the greatest economy.
No, his gas is still insanely low, so trying to get Hydras at this point in time is...
Dropping a Spire would cost 200, making Corruptors or Mutas to deal with the drops is just not going to happen. Way too expensive. Zanster needs a big ground army to be able to fight Bomber's army, which is massive at this point. So there is no other tech option for Zanster. All he can do is spread creep, defend as well as possible, try to take good fights. This is going to be one of them though.
Bomber's concaves, as he's getting ready for the overwhelming push that he does. I also love how he kind of waits for all the corrosive bios, because he's noted that Zanster's using them all at once. Then he just runs in.
Yeah,
Just
very
marches
careful with the stims, doesn't want to overstim. There's quite a few medevacs on the field, so he could afford to stim a lot. But
Look at this, using everything here. This is Bomber's chance now to just run in with everything if he
and
does
he's
so
going to go for
please.
the sandwich once more. The Marines from behind are lagging a little bit, but wow, look at this beautiful army movement from Bomber. The Zanster is responding, moving his army downwards as well. And still though, forced on the retreat, and Bomber is taking what seems to be a very convincing fight here.
And like the way that he's using corrosive bile, I really don't agree with it. It's making it very easy for Bomber to do exactly what he wants to do.
And the numbers just overwhelming.
And
GG well played.
Well played by Bomber.
Once again, displaying his insane macro, even on the map as big as Dust Towers, just making it look easy, defending the super quick Nidus. This is one of the fastest Nidus worms I've ever seen, and he just held it easy peasy, no problem. Sure, the location was a little bit weird to just put it right in front of the bunker and the Widow Mines and all, but still just very nice execution from Bomber here.
Yeah, that is definitely a build that is feared by a lot of Terrans for very good reason.
Yeah,
if you can put in the Queens first, it means the Queens will pop out first as well. Transfuse the Nidus, which we saw, and he did get out a good number of Roaches. The Widow Mines did significant damage, but Transfuses also just kept the Queens alive. So, like, I think both players did it pretty well. Yes, we can question, hey, if in that same scenario again, would you put the Nidus next to the bunker? I don't think it is the right choice, but there's advantages and disadvantages. But Bomber overall, after that happened, he just steamrolled his way to victory. He knows how to win. He really does.
This is very promising. It's going to be interesting to see Bomber play more TVCs later on, possibly.
Guys, what did you fellas think of that series?
Well, we talked a little bit about it while you guys were casting. And first of all, let's talk about the Nidus, right?
Next to the bunker is...
Next to the bunker. Well, before that,
Okay, you felt that
first of
too.
all, the Hellions shouldn't have even scouted it, technically.
Yes.
So that was a
Yeah.
mistake in the first place. It shouldn't have even been spotted. And second of all, the positioning was greedy.
Yeah.
He's going for too much when he didn't need to go that far. I think he could have very easily deployed on the second base, where the Overlord originally was looking at, and then advanced from here. He never had to go for the mineral line, but he could have at least got that up established, pushed forward up, then had a second one closer to the production.
I do really like, though, the way that he used the Widow Mines, putting them
That
next
was
to
really
Because
sick,
I've seen
yeah.
some Terran players, and I like to do this myself in my own games, like covering that Nidus with Liberators, if you open with those early on, is like one way to try to kill those Queens quickly. But the 2 Widow Mines splashing could actually take both Queens out if they came out in like a disadvantageous position. Like, I do really like that as a way to shut down that transfuse so you can burst the Nidus down. But being next to the bunker, like that's like Bomber basically just like thanking his lucky stars because he really didn't have much to deal with that if he had just put it in the natural.
Yeah, exactly. He could have put that Nidus anywhere else, and Bomber would have been like...
Pretty much anywhere else.
Yeah, because so much of that fight, Zanster was trying to kill that bunker ASAP. And in any other situation, like, that damage is going on to units that actually will die, not a bunker that can get repaired. But I was really scared about his SCVs taking Widow Mine damage initially. Cause I was
Yeah.
Cause there was like 3 Widow Mines or something. But yeah, I thought Bomber's play was clean. It was Bomber-esque too. Like, it had Bomber
The
written
game's
all
could
over
have been
it.
more Bomber.
Yeah.
It was just like very normal, build a lot of stuff and just overwhelm.
I do really like how you pointed out as well, though, the use of the corrosive bile was questionable. Every time he used it, he used all of it, so there was never a moment where Bomber's like, okay, there's one, jump it, maybe there's two more then. It was just, no, 6, okay, I've got 20 seconds where I can just kill you now because your army is way worse than mine.
Yeah, like a lot of players look at abilities and they're like, okay, this ability is meant to deal damage, right? Like, I'm just going to spam it, but corrosive bile should also be used to deny their damage, which you can often do against bio, which if you have like 10 Ravagers available, you plant like 2 or 3, then 2 or 3, you constantly make him split and kind of like...
you won't ever have a moment where you don't have any corrosive biles to use, so the Terran player has to respect the positioning, and in this series, like, it was just very clear, because Bomber did it in true Bomber style. He built a giant army and then rallied across the map until he killed you, that's exactly what he's been doing pretty much his entire career, so no surprises there. Let's hear what he has to say. Will he give us the same interviews he's been giving us his whole career? He's over in the player area with Smix.
It's time to find out, as Nathanius just said. Congratulations, Bomber. First of all, I feel like it's just been a very long time since we've seen you. Of course, you were at Battlegrounds earlier this year, but especially compared to 2014, 2015, we haven't seen you as often. So I just want to ask, how have you been doing just in general?
이제 군심 끝나고 이제 공유 시작하기 때문에 이제 좀 베타 기간이 좀 길었잖아요. 그때 좀 패치도 자주 되고 해서 연습하는 게 크게 의미 없다고 생각을 해서 많이 쉬었어요.
So he says, after Heart of the Swarm, with Legacy of the Void coming out, I knew that was happening, and the beta was a very, very long beta, and there were all these new patches coming out. So I thought, what's the point in spending a lot of time practicing when there's these constant patches? So that's why you really haven't seen me that much. And which brings me to my next point. Despite the fact that you just said that you haven't put in as much practice, maybe compared to some of these other players, the games that we just watched, you were very, very dominant, and you still had that essence of the Bomber style that we saw in Heart of the Swarm, and yet you still seem to adapt it to fit in Legacy of the Void. So how have you found that adjustment? 일단 그 군단의 심장의 그 최지성 선수의 스타일이 약간 공허에 조금 약간 적응해가지고 똑같이 약간 쓰고 있는 것 같은데 개인적으로 최지성 선수는 공허의 그냥 게임이나 전략 개인적인 스타일에 대해서 어떻게 생각하세요?
일단 저거 전에는 그 지상 유닛 팩토리에 나온 거 유닛 이름 뭐지? 그거 뭐였지? 팩토리. 사이클론은 되게 안 좋아서 쓸 수가 없는 유닛이고, 그나마 해방선도 저거 전에는 별로 안 좋은 것 같아서 그냥 군심이랑 똑같이 하고 있어요.
Well, he says in regards to at least TvZ, I honestly feel like the Cyclone is pretty useless. And with the Liberator, I feel like it's not that effective. So pretty much I decided to play that style, in terms of my style, the same way I did in Heart of the Swarm, just because I felt like the new units for Terran aren't as relevant for that particular matchup. And, I feel like in terms of Legacy of the Void, how are you enjoying it in general? Because a lot of different players, I've been speaking to all of them, most of them seem to be really enjoying it, but how are you enjoying it personally?
게임 자체는 되게 좀 난잡해지고 좀 재밌기도 하고 그런데 하는 입장에서는 조금 어렵기도 하죠. 근데 아무래도 보는 입장에서 재밌을 것 같아요.
방금 좀 어렵다고 했는데 개인적으로 뭐가 어려우세요?
신유닛들 나온 유닛들이 대부분 컨트롤을 요하는 유닛들이라서 저같이 조금 멀티태스킹이 안 되는 사람들한테는 조금 힘든 부분이 있지 않나 그렇게 생각합니다.
So he says, in terms of Legacy of the Void, I know that it's just, I think that it is a much more fun game, but there's also a lot of parts that are difficult. And so I asked him, what do you mean by difficult? Can you be more specific? And he said, I feel like a lot of the new units that are out require really great micro. And for players like me that don't really like to multitask that much, it's a little bit more difficult. However, he says that from the viewer's perspective, it is a lot more enjoyable to watch. So I'm looking forward to see how the rest of your matches in your group pan out, and congratulations again on winning your first match. And we're gonna go to a commercial break, but when we come back we will have a match from Group D. It'll be Liquid's Bunny versus Nurchio, who a lot of players have been hyping, so we'll see how that turns out.